Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of The Conversation here on Lagos Television. I am Abimbola Bello.
Good morning and welcome to the show. I am Ajibola Ojeshola.
Good morning, everyone. I am Adebimpe Omotayo.
All right, just in case you're just joining us for the very first time, this is The Conversation, and we do this Mondays through Fridays, and we talk about everything on this program. Let's begin today's show with our news points for today. Ajibola, let's start with you.
All right, we are starting with politics. PDP will come to an end if Atiku gets presidential tickets, says Bode George. Bode George, a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, says the party will collapse if former Vice President Atiku Abubakar becomes the 2027 presidential candidate of the party. George, a member of the PDP Board of Trustees, spoke on Monday on a political program. If Atiku were truly the leader of the party, he would have been fully involved in party affairs. The fact that he was the presidential candidate in the last election does not automatically make him a bona fide member or permanent leader of the party. If he's pursuing his own private interest, that is entirely different from the interest of the party. Atiku cannot be the presidential candidate of the PDP in 2027. I maintain that since the North has had the presidency for 8 years, it is only fair and just for the South to have its turn for another 8 years. That is the doctrine and foundation of the PDP. Now, I can't say Atiku cannot contest. He has the constitutional right to do so. He can go to other party and contest. But if he picks the PDP ticket in 2027, that will be the end of the party. I want to make it clear, if he secures the PDP ticket through any form of manipulation, as happened the last time, we will not accept it. Abubakar was the standard bearer of the PDP in the 2023 presidential election, lost the race to Bola Tinubu of the APC. Before the PDP primary election in 2023, some stakeholders, including a group of 5 governors, requested that the presidential ticket be zoned to the south in line with the rotation system in the party's constitution. The agitation heightened because the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, a northerner from Katsina State, was completing his second term in office. Some members of the party withdrew their support for Atiku after he won the presidential ticket, but recent discussions about forming a coalition to challenge the APC have been gaining traction ahead of the 2027 elections. Opposition politicians have been holding strategic meetings towards forming a coalition with a former vice president playing a lead role. PDP will collapse if Atiku gets presidential ticket, says Bode George. Outcome.
Even other party members.
Oh, I didn't get you can be sarcastic.
Even other party members are not happy with him. Yesterday, I listened to
the PDP governors.
Yes, and they were like, this all he's frolicking with other politicians. That is an individual thing. That is just individual interest. It's not in the interest of the party. That they're not even sure whether he still wants to stay with PDP or he wants to form a coalition.
Customer dadani. And because honestly, because now it's beginning to look like, is it that if Atiku does not become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, heavens will fall?
I don't get
what?
it.
Because I really do not even understand. And now that Bode George is talking, and everybody just keeps denying that we're not yet talking about 2027. It has started. The politics has started. So it's gradually seeming like the PDP is gradually or succinctly saying, we're not giving you a ticket in 2027.
And I think he can smell it. He can smell it. That's why he's going about.
That's why he's on the fence.
He himself, can he be trusted?
Can he?
Abimbola.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Anyway.
He will say something now.
And then when you wake up
tomorrow.
Well, politicians.
Then he's old. His movement is getting slower.
What do you mean he's old?
How old was Joe Biden when he was?
No, but going too far.
You can't tell him he's old.
Going too far.
You can't say he's old.
Abimbola, I was even discussing something with Bature this morning. The northern part of the country, they always feel entitled. You did your 8 years. We did not complain.
It's more or less like one of the reasons why, you know, a lot of people keep saying that is Nigeria, Northern Nigeria.
Northern Nigeria.
Nigeria is a country, even though we are complex. But there's just this unwritten geopolitical zoning that everybody understands. So no matter how bad you think the Tinubu government is, or no matter how unfulfilled you think the administration is, that 8 years will still stay in the southwest or the south-south, even if President Tinubu does not get a second term ticket or tenure. But the last 8 years, President Buhari was there, and he was from northern Nigeria. So what are we talking about? So, well, again, Atiku Abubakar, let's see how this is
a regular.
He's a regular. Let's take the second story this morning. Tinubu orders offensive as fresh Plateau attack leaves 51 dead. President Bola Tinubu has strongly condemned the violence in Plateau State, urging the state's leadership to find a lasting solution to persistent communal conflict. This comes after at least 51 people were again killed by gunmen with scores injured in the early hours of Monday in the Zike and Zapa communities in Basa local government area of the north-central state, 2 weeks after deadly clashes in another part of the state left several people dead. Last week, the National Emergency Agency said gunmen had killed at least 52 people and displaced nearly 2,000 others over several days of attacks in Plateau, which has had a history of violence between farmers and cattle headers. On Monday, residents said 51 bodies had been recovered in the Zike and Zimakwa villages in Plateau's Basa district, while several more were reportedly injured. The cause of the attack was not immediately known. In a statement, Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga said, and I quote, "We cannot allow this devastation and the tit-for-tat attacks to continue. Enough is enough." This is credited to Mr. President from his Special Advisor, end of quote. Of course, Tinubu expressed profound sorrow over the bloodshed and extended his condolences to Governor Caleb Mutfwang, the state government, and the people of Plateau. The president argued that the ongoing violence between communities in Plateau State, rooted in misunderstandings between different ethnic and religious groups, must cease. Therefore, he called on the governor to demonstrate political resolve in addressing the underlying communal issues fueling the violence and establishing endurance peace. Now, sometimes I have a problem with how some of these press releases are written and crafted. We cannot continue to condemn
without taking action.
So when you condemn, and then, yes, you're calling on the state governor, who is the #1 security officer of the state, as a federal government, what are you doing to complement the effort of the state government? So sometimes, you know, let's take a backseat from issuing press statements and condemning. We will continue to condemn, but if these things and if actions are not taken, then what are we talking about? And I do know that the federal government has the powers to again nip some of these things in the bud. Though there are communal clashes, though the governor should be able to resolve, but in cases where, now this is the second or the third attack in a month, and the governor is overwhelmed. He's been shouting, he's been crying. And again, and I think we need to also get to that level where government will, I think government needs to stop saying we have overcome Boko Haram, we have overcome security challenges. Because it is every time that we say that these things rear their ugly heads.
They just want to prove to you that
Zulum is shouting again.
Everywhere, even Benue State.
Yes, they are shouting again. So it means that these things are still there. So I think this is not the time for government to tell us we have won the war, because it is obvious that no war has been won. In all of the security challenges, can we begin to be more, again, I'll go back to my favorite word, intentional in all of these things? Because these guys are always ahead.
Yeah.
So if they're always ahead, can we begin to be more vigilant? Can we begin to see how the local communities can also be empowered to police themselves? Because oftentimes before you say army should come in or other security, the locals, they are territorial. It is their territory. Can you also begin to empower them locally so that they also can take care of their people? In the Southwest, Amotekun is there, and they are doing well. Even though it can be overwhelming, but there's a need to empower the locals, the local vigilantes. Because they know They are the sniffer dogs.
Yeah.
But if they don't have equipment, they do not have the wherewithal to face this battle, then they're going to keep dying. 51 people, is that a joke?
It's not a joke, Abimbola, and you have hit the nail on the head. And, you know, this is another opportunity wherein people are going to call on members of the National Assembly to please think with the 1999 Constitution of the country as amended in 1999. We need state police, and we are beginning to see now that we cannot do without state police. Because oftentimes these guys, like you rightly said, they are always ahead of us. And what has happened to intelligence gathering? Most of the times we are always reactive, we are not proactive. And people will come out and start condemning, saying they are this, they are that. The ones that we have seen recently, what is the federal government doing? The governor is the Chief Security Officer on paper.
I just want to add to what both of you have said, which I agree totally with, that the federal government is still handling this issue with like child's play. It is beyond, for me, it's beyond community cash. It's pure terrorism. Because when I watched, you know, this on TV yesterday, they had buried 51 people, and these people were wailing. They were interviewed and they said, look, it is Fulani headsmen that is coming into their community to attack, to kill, to maim them. So this is where, according to Abimbola, this is where the federal government should step in and stop blaming the governor. It is beyond communal clashes. It's beyond that right now.
They are killing people like chickens in Benue. The other time it was Rumi.
Yeah.
You know?
It was Rumi, yes.
I don't know. I think we can do more as a government, and rather than, you know, the blame game, calling on the governor to do more, the federal government also needs to step in. They need to step in.
And I'm waiting to see what the National Assembly will see. Maybe this will catch their attention.
Okay.
We move from, it's really sad. From Plateau State, we move to Rivers. Emergency room, pro-anti-Fubara women protest rock Rivers. A wave of protests yesterday rocked Port Harcourt, River State, as a women's group rallied, declaring support for the state of emergency rule in the state, while another group under the aegis of Rivers Women Unite for SIM protested in the Alhada area of the state, insisting on the reinstatement of Fubara. This came as a chief magistrate in Rivers State, Ejike George, has voluntarily retired from service over the suspension of Governor Fubara, his deputy, Professor Ngozi Maudu, and the lawmakers, and the imposition of a sole administrator on the state. I don't want to go. I don't know if it's emotional about what is happening in Plateau.
Why are you emotional?
I'm a bit emotional, so sorry. Anyway, there was a emergency rule protest by some women in River State yesterday, and they are supporting, you know, the sole administrator. And I heard many of them say, oh, since there was this emergency rule, there have been peace in River State. They've been able to sleep. They've been able to move around, you know, peacefully going about their businesses. You should have seen them. They all wore white.
I saw them.
To reflect
But where did you find that crowd?
Did you see that crowd? Did you
Bimbola,
see that crowd?
And, you know, there are some things that you see, and they can be overwhelming.
It was.
And I'm like, maybe they imported some people into
All
it.
women.
They were not imported.
In white.
They were not imported. Something imported.
Like
them.
we always say, allegedly, they have been settled. We have had pro and we have had anti.
Yes, it depends on the camp that you are. Okay.
And even in all of this, NBA too is there.
You know, when the NBA issue came up yesterday, do you know what came to mind? What came to mind? I can't remember who it was. I think it was Wale Adeoye that we had as guest here. Was it Wale Adeoye? I can't remember who. I can't remember who. When we talked about celebration of World Press, there was it was Mr. Balabola Wale.
Okay.
Who categorically said, you know, sometimes professional associations have no business asking government
for money.
Not for money, to sponsor their conferences. And that played out yesterday with the NBA. when, of course, IBA said they needed to refund the 300 million naira that they had collected.
If they were not.
And NBA said, well, they didn't collect any money. That money was a gift.
Ha! And they did not collect.
It was a gift from the host government. Because usually when they host their conferences, the host governor usually had a contribution. And so that was it. And, you know, instantly I remembered what Bola Wale said, and that was when he said Guild of Editors should have no business asking governors to support their conferences, because when you do, you are their beck and call. And so you cannot call them out when they do certain things. And so people were divided with the NBA thing yesterday. Where do you stand? Now you've collected money, even though it was a gift. And I even found that a gift, 300 million.
Why was it not mentioned before the sole administrator mentioned it?
If they get to Bayelsa,
they'll get another one. Anyway, Rivers, we've seen the pro. Now we've seen the anti. Now we've seen the pro. No matter what side you are, you will always find people who will back you up. So people would, if you're doing well, people will say continue. And if you're doing other way, people will say continue. You are the best. So I just do hope that we all will be on the right side of truth, and posterity will judge us all appropriately. Those are stories this morning. Let's quickly head to the X platform this morning and take a look at one of the many trending stories on that platform. For those that love, for those that love Awoof, so I say Awoof before you say Ponzi scheme, because if you say Ponzi scheme, a lot of people say, what is Ponzi scheme? They don't even understand what Ponzi scheme is. So yesterday, CBEX was trending, and a lot of people say, why was CBEX trending? For those that do not know, CBEX stands for Cryptocurrency Exchange, CBEX. Days ago, I think it was 4 days ago, you know, the rumor had gone to town that CBEX had crashed. And, you know, a lot of people said, what do you mean by that? But yesterday, it looks like the shell finally fell through. And, you know, in Ibadan, we understood, you know, people were looting the office of CBEX just because, again, they weren't sure if their money was safe or not. And then we started hearing, like the way of MMM. Like the way of Kiniko, they usually have short names.
Those short names alone should tell them that it's for a short time. It's for a short period. It's not real.
MMM, FTX, MTF, CBEX. But you know, amongst while this is trending, in the midst of it all, the Nigerian Security and Exchange Commission has reacted to the operation of CBEX, a digital asset trading platform in Nigeria, saying any of such platform is not registered. Saying any of such platform not registered with SEC is illegal. So now, is CBEX...
SEC even warned Nigerians before now.
EFCC even did a list of some of these Ponzi schemes. But you know us, we like Awoof too much.
I love what somebody wrote on X. You know why scams like CBEX will never end and continue to cash out unintentional, gullible Nigerians? Because they operate on greed.
They're not gullible, they're just greedy. They're not gullible.
No, he said it now, because they operate on greed.
And
don't worry, another one will come.
So this one said,
and Nigerians will embrace it.
MMM was a Ponzi that crashed. Rackstelly was a Ponzi that crashed. MBA Forex was also a Ponzi that crashed. Now, CBEX is a certified Ponzi that just crashed. But guess what? Nigerians will still invest in the next Ponzi that pops up. A fool and his money. We always part ways. So, but now, so the difference between CBEX and others is that CBEX is a certified Ponzi.
So the Nigerians that keep crying, no money, no money.
And yet you are investing in
$822 million.
In Saudi Arabia for Umrah recently, and he was praying. He was praying to God, my investment in CBEX, let it...
So, now that he has prayed at the Kaaba...
His prayer was not answered.
When the trip he even went on was misplaced priority.
Exactly. You're doing money doubling. God should answer that prayer.
No. Anyway, you were trying to tell us how much. How much totally?
$822 million from Nigerians.
$822 million.
So that's about 1 trillion.
That's why those in government will tell you that we are not suffering.
Abi? Isn't it?
Proven that, right?
Because when you have small money and you go and put it on CBEX, money that you should use to buy Gary.
What happened to UBA?
Or find a small business that you can do.
Exactly. I never try to understand this thing, so I don't go near it. I don't.
I was once a victim of that.
But like, if it is my they will never sell. Because I will look away.
It's too complicated for
I will go and use my money to eat in your...
You know, it was a long time ago. I invested 300,000.
But you will never do that again.
Never. I never tried it again.
Once beaten, plenty
Never.
shy.
Some people have been beaten plenty times.
They will still get beaten. They will still get
It's just like gambling.
Greed. And we'll
Okay.
and then we'll be.
That's it. You can go onto the.
We do sympathize with you, investors.
I do not sympathize. What's my own? Is it my business? Well, you can offer your sympathy. I'm not offering mine.
Don't let me use this online slang they be saying by these Gen Zs. Let me say something.
Anyways, you can go onto the X platform this morning and take a further read on why CBEX is trending. Perhaps you will learn a lesson if, again, you are one of them. Let's take a quick break. When we return, another serious conversation we'll be having on the program this morning. Donald Trump is turning the world upside down. Today, he will increase tariff. Tomorrow, he will retrieve. Tomorrow, he will say now by 100%. But I also like the fact that other countries of the world are also marching up to him in this is fury. Yeah. And, of course, places like Canada, places like China are, standing up to him and saying, you know what, you cannot bully us. This is our own economy. Rule or govern over U.S. where you are president and leave us to do our own thing. But what are the implications of what Donald Trump is doing on global trade across the world? The conversation is after a short break.